Hi friends, welcome back to the Saffron Box. I'm Yamini Sharma and today I'll be talking about the placement of the 8th house lord of your birth chart. So I've already made 7 videos earlier where I have spoken about the house lords and what is the effect of their placement through all the 12 bhavas. So in this video I'll be covering what the 8th house stands for and what happens when the 8th lord is placed in various houses in your natal chart. So we'll talk about the placement through all the 12 bhavas, all the 12 houses also. So see, the 8th house as such is a very difficult house to deal with, right? It's a trik bhava. It's the most malefic of all the trik bhavas also. And 8th house always deals with things which are not visible to you, which are unheard, which are hidden, which come up suddenly, unexpectedly. So the 8th house stands for suddenness, sudden events, right? Sudden things which happen. It may be good, it may be bad. So I'm not saying anything about the goodness or the worthiness of whatever is happening, but whatever happens suddenly, right? So sudden events are seen from the 8th house. 8th house is a house of your longevity. So your age, how long will you live, is seen from the 8th house. It's the Ayush Bhava. And 8th house deals with transformation. Since the 8th house deals with death as such, your longevity as such, it deals with transformation, right? So whenever something dies within us, something new is born. So it talks about the physical death also, and it talks about the transformations which we undergo throughout our lifetimes. So the transformation could be of a physical nature, the transformation could be of could be of an emotional kind, mental kind. Whatever transforms you, whatever keeps changing you from within your core is seen from the 8th house. 8th house also talks about all hidden things which I mentioned. So sudden gain of money or sudden loss of money, right? uh, Sudden coming into inheritance or lotteries, sudden losses can also be seen from your 8th house. So it deals with all things which are mysterious, which are hidden, all the subjects which are hidden, all the things which are hidden under the earth's core are also seen from the 8th house. So oil, gemstones, whatever has to be found, some research has to be done and then it has to be found. Only then you can use something, only then you can use it, is what is seen from the 8th house. It deals with all things which have gone past, right? It deals with occult, astrology, mysticism, anything which is mysterious, which is difficult to understand, which requires research, which requires getting into it neck deep. 8th house rules over it. It is also the house of Mangalya. It's a Mangalya Bhava, especially for females, for ladies. 7th house is your marriage, and the second house from the 7th, that is the 8th house, is your Mangalya Bhav. So in female horoscopes, it is very important to see the 8th house as such and the placement of the 8th lord. It talks a lot about your marriage, how your marriage is going to be, how is your relationship with your in-laws. So 8th house covers all these things. It covers sudden injuries, sudden accidents, sudden scandals which come up, which one never thinks about. Sudden problems. You never ever thought that something like this could come up. And if it is coming up, believe me, the eighth house is there. Eighth house is playing a role over there. So it is a house of transformation, it is a house of suddenness, it is a house of hidden troubles, hidden wealth, and it is the most difficult house to be understood because it is hidden. Talks about all hidden things, talks about all secrets, all conspiracies, or anything like that. You name it, it comes under the eighth house. And wherever the eighth lord goes, so the planet which governs the eighth house in your birth chart, wherever it goes, it carries the maleficence of the eighth house along with it. So, whichever house it will go, it will carry that transforming energy, it will carry that suddenness, it will carry that maleficence, that sense of loss along with it. Of course, there are exceptions, but I'm going to talk about those later, right? So, there are exceptions to each and everything. Any dictum will have exceptions, but I'm talking in general, I'm talking about the basic fundamentals here. So as I've mentioned, that whatever we need to understand, we always need to take it layer wise. So I'm talking about the uh, house lot placements, then thereafter come the rashis, the conjunctions, the aspects, and various other things. There are so many layers which have to be seen, then only then we can totally understand something. So this is a very basic layer which I'm talking about, but it gives away a lot about a birth chart. So do remember to keep your Lagna chart in mind, keep your D1 chart in mind. Do not apply this to divisional charts, right? So keeping your D1 in mind is the best way to understand this also, right? So eighth lord through various houses I mentioned. I'll talk about the eighth lord in the first house or the Lagna. What happens when the eighth lord comes to the Lagna or is posited in the Lagna in the first bhav, the Tanu bhav? One, it has gone 6 places from itself, right? Not good. It has gone to the Lagna. Lagna is you, yourself, personality, your physical body. And who has gone to affect that? The eighth lord. Eighth lord will carry all the maleficence to the Lagna, to the personality. Right? So here we can say that the native could uh, meet with frequent health troubles, could meet with frequent obstacles, frequent troubles in their lives. One can say that there also could be some chronic health issues which this person deals with. So that again depends if the Lagna Lord, if the Lagnesh, the Lagna as such is strong, then these troubles could be less. But some amount of troubles or obstacles, difficulties keep coming across in the lifetime. This also shows somebody who could inherit a lot of wealth or come into inheritance. Not everybody gets a sizable inheritance, but here, if the eighth lord is in the Lagna and otherwise your chart also shows a good promise of wealth or easy way through wealth, then this could show money coming to you or wealth coming to you through inheritance or through sudden windfall gains from your partner's family, or your partner's wealth comes to you. So you benefit a lot from your partner's wealth. You benefit a lot financially after you get married. That's when the eighth house will get activated. When the seventh house, in your seventh house, you meet your partner. So the eighth house will get activated. When we talk about your partner, in a way, the eighth house, the wealth of your partner will come to you post marriage. This could show your in-laws to be wealthy, or your gains, your financial gains from your in-laws. This could also show somebody who is dealing with secret matters, who's into research, who's into occult, who's into all the fields which I mentioned earlier. So somebody who's actively involved in these things, who's dealing with a lot of mysterious things, secret things. So the native could have a very investigating kind of a nature. So they like to probe a lot. They like to dig deep into hidden matters, dig deep into history, historical events. So this shows an inborn ability or inborn talent also to deal with all matters which are hidden. So it is a good placement for astrology, for occult, for somebody who's in the field of archaeology, history, research, and higher studies, going into further research. So an excellent placement for that as well. But the most negative point of this particular placement is frequent problems. So, whatever you do, you come across problems frequently, you come across obstacles frequently. And because of those things, because of those problems, you've got to transform yourself time and time again. As I said, the eighth house is about transformation, is about regeneration, birth and death cycle. So, what happens? Your thoughts keep changing, or events happen in such a way that your life keeps changing majorly, drastically. So it could show that there could be changes in your personality. You might be a very extrovert person to begin with. Maybe the first 20 30 years of your life, you were very extrovert, outgoing, happy go lucky, all that. But then some events happen, and then you become a very reserved person, become introvert. You do not like to mingle around too much. This could happen. Or you could this could reflect in your profession. There is a change in your profession. So what you were doing, you take a total different turn, 180 degrees difference is there in your second career, in the way you view things. From a very materialistic outlook, you could turn into a very spiritual person. So these kind of changes can be seen. So it has a lot of transformation, and a lot of ever changing kind of energy to it, ever changing kind of a vibe to it. So the key to handle this placement also is to uh, be ready for change. Do not be stuck to something which is no longer serving you. Be open to change. Roll with the new stuff which is coming along your way, and you will be able to handle this energy well. Also, it is very important for people with this placement to have a check on their health, because when the eighth lord comes to the first house, I have seen this sooner or later, health issues, chronic health issues keep occurring. So do keep a tight check on your health, which is very important. Then the eighth lord in the second house. When the eighth lord goes into the second house, it has gone into the dhan bhava. A trick lord, a malefic planet going into the dhan bhava. But it aspects the eighth house back from the second house. Any planet which goes to the second house will be aspecting the eighth house from there. Any planet for that matter, right? So here it could be good for your wealth, for your inheritance. If there are no malefic effects on this planet, on this placement, then this could show that there is a lot of family wealth which you come into. The assets which you have, the financial, worth which you have is because of inheritance, is because of your partner's wealth. So sometimes I've seen that in such cases, once you get married, your partner helps you in setting up a new business, setting up something new for yourself, and you gradually grow along with that base, with that foundation, which the partner has provided you or the in laws have provided you, right? So this could show a lot of gain or the financial standing being built up because of inheritance or because of others' money. This is a very common combination I've seen in people who deal, with financial assets, or who are working with banks, who are working in the financial sector, handling others' money. So they gain because others are investing their money, right? So mutual fund managers, wealth management companies, these kind of things they get into. This also shows a person who's very secretive about their dealings. So whatever they do, whatever financial transactions they do, they're usually very secretive about it. They do not disclose their financial assets to very many people, or they keep it very tight within the family. So very many years later, after knowing them, you get to know that yes, this person's financial worth is way higher than what you ever thought. So they're secretive about their dealings, they're secretive about their financial worth. This is when the placement is free of any malefic aspect, any malefic effect. But if the same placement gets into a malefic conjunction, there are some malefic planets, functionally malefic planets aspecting this placement, or there are some other not so good effects on this particular placement, the eighth lord gets afflicted, then in such a case the family could be a source of pain. As such, there are losses because of the family. You lose money because of your family. So there's so much that whatever you get, you have lost in the family business, or because of family members, or because of some family issues. This also shows somebody who, uh, if planets like Mercury or Rahu also get involved, then in such a case, it shows a person who could be lying a lot, who wants to hide things about himself or herself, and ends up lying, ends up manipulating quite a bit. So speech is misused. Your Vani, second house is your Vani sthan. Such a person could be using the Vani in a deceitful way, lying, manipulating, all because of money matters. So the money angle is very strong here. The financial assets are always a source of worry sometimes for these people as well. Then people with this placement, one thing I have seen, should be very careful about what they eat. Second house governs your food intake, governs your mouth. So they should be careful about what they eat, because eighth lord's placement in the second house can make them be a little careless towards their food habits, and you can end up with chronic health issues. So be careful about your food intake. Then the eighth lord in the third house. When the eighth lord goes into the third house, see, the third house is the eighth from eighth. It is the higher note of the eighth house. Third house is also the first in the karma trine. Your desires in your mind, your mind gives birth to desires over here. So all your desires are seen from here. And here the eighth lord goes and sits. So there could be a lot of changes, a lot of transformation in the way you think. Unstable mind as such sometimes. So your mind could be very, very wavering, very fickle. You're not able to firm up on what you want as such. What should you desire for? So there's a lot of confusion sometimes, there's lack of direction sometimes, because the eighth lord constantly creates troubles over here. So here, the actually when the eighth lord goes to the third house, the eighth house is becoming stronger. So all the eighth house significations are also becoming stronger here, right? So here there could be hurdles in your motivation levels, your stamina, the overall energy, how quickly you move, how quickly you do things. Your movements could also be a little slow. Then this could also show a bad relationship with your younger siblings. Why? Because the eighth lord is making a, is giving maleficence over here in your third house. So many a times it happens in most of the charts that there is no younger sibling, or even if there is a younger sibling, you are not on very good terms with your younger sibling as such. So the younger siblings, the relationship with them gets affected negatively. This could also show a person who's very slow in their communication. So the way they want to convey their things, sometimes they are not able to do so. They appear to be very slow in their communication, in the way they are presenting their ideas, presenting their thoughts, right? Also could show that to achieve your goals, you have to really motivate yourself, because there are so many obstacles, there are so many hurdles which you keep meeting up. But the third house is your parakram sthan also. So the motivation, the struggle which you have to do, is a little higher, is more than others. So you really have to struggle through a lot of things. So the way to handle this energy is to firm up your mind on what you want to do and keep going on, keep doing the things which you have to do. So as soon as your efforts are more, then efforts are more, they keep on happening, you keep on doing what you're doing, the hurdles, the obstacles which keep coming across your path also seem to become smaller and smaller by the day, right? So it's very important to be consistent in what you're doing. Then the eighth lord in the fourth house. Eighth lord in the fourth house shows that the Trik Bhava lord, the eighth lord, has gone into a Kendra Sthan, Trikon from itself, but has gone into the same trine. This is a Moksha trine, 4, 8, and 12. So they resonate the same energy when they form a trine with each other. So here it could show that there is gain of inherited property. You gain property because inheritance has come to you. So either you get wealth through inheritance, you get immovable assets through inheritance. Your mother could be a source of financial gain to you, certain financial gains to you. Could also show disturbances within your family or within your home environment, right? So you want to feel settled, you want to settle at one place, you want to do something peacefully, but constant hurdles, constant obstacles keep presenting themselves. They could also be ups and downs in your relationship with your mother, right? So, financially, wealth wise, it could be a good placement, depending again on other yogas in the chart. But this could create disturbance in your home environment, and it could, as a result, give you a lot of restlessness. The fourth house is a sukh, where you feel relaxed, where you are at home. It's your home, it's your mother. So whatever gives you sukh, whatever gives you happiness, gives you bliss. Here, when the eighth lord comes, it disturbs your bliss. So you want to make a nice home for yourself, but there are some disturbances. You want to, finally spend some quality time at home, but there are constant disturbances, right? So these kind of things can be seen. Uh, your relationship with your mother, especially with this placement, has to be really taken care of, right? And especially when the eighth lord happens to be moon and it goes to the uh, fourth house, this becomes a very difficult placement to handle, right? So because moon is not considered good in the fourth house, and especially when it's alone, especially when it does not have too much of strength also. So this becomes a very tricky placement. Also could show that your mother has been facing hardships, or your mother has had a life full of struggles, full of problems, difficulties, could be facing chronic health issues, or your mother could be associated with fields of occult research, etc. Then the eighth lord in the fifth house. When the eighth lord goes to the fifth house, it goes to a kendra from itself. For the fifth house, of course, there is some damage which comes to it. But for the eighth house, some positivity comes because it has gone to a trine. So it draws some positivity from it. But whenever any planet goes to a Kendra from itself, it supports its own house. So this shows a person, shows a native who is able to study well, who's able to apply his mind and intellect very well into research, into deep research, and is able to resolve a lot of problems. Eighth house is problems. And when the eighth lord makes a connection by way of, being there in the fifth house, all your eighth house matters, all the difficulties, all the obstacles get managed. Why? Because the fifth house is, responsible for uh, your problem solving skills, the way you manage things, the way you tackle things, way you apply your mind. So it is very good for people who are scholars, people who are into deep research of sorts. But overall, when the eighth lord goes over here, it shows difficulties in your romantic liaisons. Fifth house shows your romantic affairs, matters of the heart. So here some difficulties could come. You could, come across frequent breakups. There could be difficulty in your, in getting progeny. Fifth house is progeny. So wherever the eighth lord goes, it basically damages the life significations, the living significations to some extent. So there could be some difficulty in either getting your progeny, or if you get progeny, you get them with difficulty. There could be surgery involved. There could be complicated medical procedures involved. Sometimes I've also seen that with this placement, the relationship with the children is not very good. So eighth lord sits there and damages your relationship with your own children, right? So this is a difficult placement, difficult for the fifth house matters, right? Then also this is good for somebody who is in the field of occult research, as I mentioned. Fifth house is also your mantra sadhana, your mantra siddhis. So somebody who is in the field of occult, likes to understand tantra, mantra, is into deep meditation, for them this energy, they can harness this energy pretty well. Then the eighth lord in the sixth house. When the eighth lord goes into the sixth house, it uh, there are basically two trik bhavas which have got involved, right? So eighth house is a trik bhava, sixth house is a trik bhava. So here there's a connection which gets formed between two trik bhavas. This is also Viprit Rajyog. But I would say that Viprit Rajyog, one should comment on this, one should confirm this Viprit Rajyog only when there are other factors which are supporting in the chart. So if the Lagnesh is strong, if other things are strong, then one can say that yes, the Viprit Rajyog is working. The relevant dashas are coming. Otherwise, just by this placement, one really cannot say that a Viprit Rajyog is going to work, right? So this could show, when the eighth lord comes to the sixth house, this could show difficulties in your daily schedule. Sixth house is your daily schedule, your daily working, your daily struggle. So you're not able to plan your day properly, you're not able to manage your routine properly, obstacles, frequent problems. This could also show that all the hidden problems in your life come out into the open. So it's good in a way. All the hidden problems come out into the open. So you know what you're dealing with. You know who is your enemy. You know who's your opposition. Sometimes the health issues which you keep facing also come out in the open. So you're able to take them. You're able to understand them. Take them to the right doctor, right? So your medical help, legal help, you are able to use any such help, any professional help in the, just at the right time, in the nick of time. So in that way it is good. But it also shows that you come across big problems, major problems. So though you get a lot of help in resolving those, but the problems which are there in front of you are also big. Your enemies are also very strong. The health issues also which you come across are pretty big, complicated, difficult to handle. Right? So here, that's how the Viprit Rajyog also works. You understand the problem at least, and then because it is the sixth house which you are talking about, the sixth house is a Upche Bhava, it is the house of fighting back, it is the house of your prarabdh. All old karmas are coming here, getting fructified. It is the house of dealing with competition. So whatever you struggle through, you grow through. So here with, this gives a, this shows a person who can sustain a lot of, struggle. Constant problems also can be, managed by this person. That again will depend if the Lagnesh is strong. But if there's major affliction over here, the Lagnesh is not strong, the moon is afflicted, then in such a case, this will show a person who deals with so many problems that gets demotivated very easily, loses his will to fight back. But for somebody who's strong mentally, this is a good placement to, spare through all competitions, through all difficulties. Right? Then the eighth lord in the seventh house. A very difficult placement. Seventh house is a very important house. It's the house of your spouse, house of your marriage. It is the mirror image of your first house. And when the eighth lord comes to the seventh house, one, it has come 12 places, it has gone 12th from itself, and it has gone to a Kendra Bhava. It has seventh house is a Marka Bhav, and eighth house is also a malefic house. So here, this connection between a Marak Bhav and a Trik Bhav is not good. So what does it damage? It damages your relationship with others in general, not only your marriage. With your marriage or with your spouse, definitely there'll be some damage seen. There'll be some problems seen. But it, generally damages relationships, with other people, right? Seventh house is other people. So your relationships, there could be frequent misunderstandings, there could be frequent misquoting of what you say, problems in dealing with others. This could also show a placement of where people can get into any kind of a scandal, any kind of a controversy with an opposite gender, depending on the planets involved. Regarding the marriage, this could show frequent problems in the marriage because of your in-laws, because of money matters, because of your partner's money. This is something which I have seen personally over a period of so many years, looking at many charts where people have finally, ended up in a separation. Also, I've seen this placement, but depends. This shows marital discord of sorts. Depends on what is the degree of strength of the eighth lord, how are the other things placed, how's Venus, how's the seventh lord also, and all that. But the higher the affliction, the more difficult it is for the marriage as such. So it's not a good placement for your marriage, it is not a good placement for your partnership also in general. Such people should not get into a partnership business. Whatever you want to do, if you want to go ahead with the business, please do it alone. Should be a sole proprietorship rather than a partnership. Also, here I would say that to handle your marriage better, it is always better to keep others out of your marriage, including your parents, including your in laws. So make sure that you have a strong bond with your partner first rather than, going to your in laws or going to your partners, going to anybody else. Whatever you want to communicate, communicate with your spouse first. That is the key to handling this as well. Then the eighth lord in the eighth house itself. Any planet sitting in its own house gets pretty strong, right? So we all know that. So here, eighth house is the house of longevity. It's the Ayush Bhava. So it could give good longevity to the person. It could give good promise of inheritance to the person. Also shows somebody who's you know uh, involved with their with others money, with their partner's money. So your profession could be such, especially if other placements are also helping it out. Your profession could be such that you deal with money, you deal with finances. Could show good inheritance, gain of good inherited money, and could show somebody who's very good in research, has the required persistence, consistency to do research. Because when you get into research, you have to do the same things over and over again, collect the same data, get into something. Sometimes it can get really boring, really exhausting for people. But here, with this placement, these people are very strong in dealing with all the eighth house matters. In the eighth lord in the ninth house, When the eighth lord goes into the ninth house, it shows that the trik bhava has made a connection with the dharm trikon. Ninth house is your bhagistan, right? It's a very important house, supports the lagna, and the eighth lord has made a connection with it. Could show that there are disturbances in your relationship with your father. There could be physical separation with your father, or because of your speech, because of the way both of you are, your basic natures are different. So you differ mentally. There's a lot of mental, emotional distance between you two. Your father could be involved in fields of research, uh, occult, mining, banking, insurance, all the eighth house things. Father could be working in these things. Father could have a deep connection with these things. Also shows frequent hurdles in the father's life, right? So there could be frequent obstacles, frequent problems that the father has been facing. So a life which has given him a lot of struggle, right? So here it shows that the life signification of the ninth house, that is the father as such, has had a life of struggle, has had a difficult life. And also that ninth house deals with your travels, deals with your long distance travels, your pilgrimages, etc., higher education. So here there could be obstacles, there could be disturbances when you want to study higher, or when you want to travel frequently. So frequent disturbances are seen. There could be very minor problems, but disturbances. So long distance travels are not very comfortable, right? Also, this gives the native a good longevity, because the eighth lord has gone one step ahead of itself. So good longevity can be seen. It has gone to a dharma trikona. So your age wise, longevity wise, it might be good. Eighth house, the damage which the eighth house lord was carrying gets mitigated to some extent, but for the ninth house it creates difficulties, right? Then when the eighth lord goes to the 10th house, when the eighth lord goes to the 10th house, it is making a connection with the kendra bhava. 10th house is again a very important house. It is as good as the lagna, as the first house. So when the eighth lord goes to the 10th house, there are frequent breaks in your profession, in your in your work life as such. 10th house is basically your karm sthan, but when we understand karm by broadly or loosely, if we have to understand, we talk about the profession or your livelihood, or what kind of work you do, what kind of job are you in as such. So here there could be frequent breaks in what you're doing, or there could be changes in your profession, frequent changes. Could also show difficulty in your relationship with your higher authorities, with your bosses. Then this is again a good placement for people who are scientists, or who are people who are into very advanced higher order thinking, who do a lot of research and then come across something very new. People who are into inventions, innovations, who get some really brilliant idea all of a sudden, once in a lifetime kind of an idea. That depends on the strength of the 10th house also. 10th house is how your brain works. How your brain works is how you generate your karma, how you work physically. right? So here, sudden ideas could come, sudden brain waves could come, and you could shoot up in your name and fame, in your popularity. 10th house shows your standing in the society, shows your name and fame, your reputation as such. So here there could be suddenness, sudden ups and sudden downs. So a lot of transformations, a lot of changes, transforming energy in the 10th house. So eighth lord carries that energy there. This could, the way to handle this energy also is that whenever you're trying to do something big, try to keep it hidden. Do not disclose it to many people. So work in silence, because a lot of other people could present themselves as obstacles in what you're doing. So you could have the potential to do something big, but keep it to yourself till the time you actually make a breakthrough. So it could be anything. It could be a new job opportunity, it could be a new project which you're doing. So anything new which you're doing, try to keep it to yourself till the time you finally are 100% sure about it. Then the eighth lord in the 11th house. When the eighth lord goes to the 11th house, it shows obstacles in your in meeting your desires. 11th house is the highest in the karma trine. 11th house talks about your desire fulfillment, and when the eighth lord goes over there, it's the most malefic placement as such. When the eighth lord goes over there, it gives frequent problems, in meeting your desires, last minute problems. But sometimes I would say there are, there's a suddenness to whatever is happening. So sometimes it could be a sudden good event, good happening also, or a bad happening also, right? So sudden things keep happening. Sometimes your desires could be you find difficulty in doing what you want to do, and sometimes you even the most difficult of things you want to achieve, you are able to achieve them with a lot of ease. So there's a suddenness to it, there's a lot of unpredictability in achieving your goals, keeping your hard work aside, keeping other things aside. So last minute twists and turns can keep coming in your story. Also shows difficulty in maintaining long term friendships. Your professional circle could get disturbed, or this could also show somebody who could get into some kind of a scandal, dealing with new people. So some kind of a scandal, some kind of a scams, etc., problems. You could be alleged with something which something totally out of the blue in your professional circle. So you have to be very careful about whom you're dealing with. So keep your circle good and strong. Do not let anybody come into your circle, do not let anybody come very close to you, right? So you have to be very selective, you have to be very, you have to skim through the kind of people you meet, the kind of people you interact with. So keep a high quality circle of associates, high quality circle of friends. That is a better way to handle this energy as such. Also, this energy, when the eighth lord goes to the 11th house, could show that there is a sudden gain of inheritance, sometime at a very young age, unexpectedly. Gain from inheritances do come to you, right? Then, eighth lord in the 12th house. When the eighth lord goes into the 12th house, again, two trick bhavas are getting connected, the eighth and the 12th. Here, it could show. There is a viprit rajyog also. There's a difficult this is a difficult placement, so it does show some success after a lot of hard work. But this could show that there is a loss of inheritance, sometimes a loss of your partner's money, of your partner's wealth, loss of inheritance. So you got inheritance but you lost it. Things like that can play up. You could frequently come across adverse situations in life, and when you constantly keep dealing with those adverse situations, then you get success. So this is a very difficult energy to handle in the first place, you know and the way to handle this energy is to develop your spiritual side. 12th house, see, the 8th house, the 4th, 8th and the 12th, they form the moksha trine. So 8th lord going to the 12th shows that two moksha trine, moksha bhavas are also getting connected. The 12th house also shows going away, shows spirituality. uh, it shows spending yourself. So spend yourself, spend your time, your energy in good things. You could invest your time in meditative practices, spiritual practices, to minimize the losses which come from the 8th house. So this could hint at a person to start adopting a more spiritual approach. So go with the flow is what this placement says to you, right? It is not a very good placement for your longevity, right? So the way you see things going. So when I say longevity, I'm basically talking about a good disease free long life. So even though you could live long, there could be various health issues which keep coming. Frequent visits to the doctors, frequent visits to the hospitals, to places of confinement, right? So the way to as I mentioned, the way to handle this energy is to let go. But whenever I've seen these trig bhavas being too active in any chart, the best way, the first way to handle this energy is to take care of your health, take care of your food habits, take care of the way you are spending your uh, you know the way you are using your mind, body and soul. So be ready for transformation of a good kind. So invest yourself, invest in good books, invest in things which take you towards a better way of life. And that way you're able to lose a lot of this energy which comes from the Trikbhavas, right? So you'll be able to sleep better also. This placement can also give you a rough sleep, disturbed sleep. The 8th lord, wherever it goes, it gives disturbances, so your sleep can get disturbed. Your conjugal bliss also gets disturbed. So all this, as I mentioned, can get handled by way of keeping good health. And I think that is a very practical way to handle this energy. So that was all about the placement of the 8th lord in all the bhavas, in the 12 bhavas. Do understand that everything cannot be covered. There are so many things which a house shows. There are hundreds of significations. There are so many things which a planet shows, and then once it moves to some house, uh, two houses get connected, and lot of affects, a lot of um, outcomes can be seen, but everything cannot be covered in one single video, right? So I hope I've been able to make you understand this 8th lord's placement to some extent, and more will follow very soon in my frequent videos. Till then, take care. God bless you.